welcome back to another episode of Sit with Shy. Today I'm joined with Daniel, and he's going to talk a little bit about traveling, holidays, and like his travel experience so far. So I think before we delve into the questions, can you briefly like introduce us and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, my name is Daniel. I'm 25. I actually went to school with Cheyenne, so we've known each other for a long time. And I make travel videos on the internet. I've been to 120 plus countries, and I'm on a journey to visit them all. So yeah, that's what I'm doing currently.
Wow, 120 plus. That's amazing. So like,
Yeah.
What made you want to get into travel content specifically?
I think it kind of just led that way naturally. I'm not really big into like speaking on the camera. That's all a new thing to me, but I've always enjoyed like taking pictures and filming where I was.
Mm-hmm.
So just over the years of my travels, it just like kind of changed from random photos into more like vlogging. And this went from that to where I am now, which I still find weird. I still don't really feel comfortable like talking to a camera, especially like in like a busy street, for example. Like I would never do it in London. Never. I would never walk around vlogging in London.
Yeah.
But if I'm somewhere else where no one knows me, then I don't feel as awkward.
Okay. Do you feel like your confidence has built since vlogging and going to different countries?
Like my confidence in general or my confidence within vlogging?
Both, because I think they both interlink with each other.
I would say I'm quite a confident person in general. Mm-hmm. In terms of vlogging, for sure. Like in the beginning, I used to stutter and have to redo it. Even if I was just saying like a simple phrase, I'd always get nervous. But I would say that I've definitely gotten better in all aspects of that.
Yeah. And when you go on these travels, do you travel by yourself or in a group?
So it depends. I've done all sorts. I've traveled with family. I've traveled with friends. I've traveled by myself. I've traveled with friends I've never met before, like social media, like other travel people.
Yeah.
I've done it all. So whoever, like if I'm going somewhere and someone wants to come, they're more than welcome. I know now that I'm going to every country. I'm going to places that like not everyone wants to go to, like war zones. Mm-hmm. So I get it. So I don't always have someone, but I do enjoy being myself. Like solo travel is really good and I recommend it to everyone. So I do a bit of everything.
So like, what is it specifically about solo travel that you enjoy? Because I know some people can be a bit intimidated by traveling by themselves.
Just not having to rely on anyone. I don't have to like plan with anyone. I can do whatever I want. I can wake up whenever I want. I can eat ice cream for breakfast if I want. No one can say anything. Just you can do whatever you want. You don't have to rely on anyone. And that's great. And then you end up meeting people. Like you're never actually by yourself. You always meet a lot of people when you travel. I think you meet more people when you're by yourself than when you are with someone. Because when you are with someone, you kind of stick to them and you don't feel like you need to speak to others. Whereas when you're by yourself, you want to meet people. Well, it does get lonely.
Oh, what tips would you give someone that's traveling by themselves for like the first time? What could they do to feel less anxious, would you say?
I mean, just don't worry because it's never going to be as bad as you think. Yeah. A lot of people get anxious because they think they're going to be by themselves when in reality they're not.
Yeah.
So just stay in hostels. You're going to meet a lot of people your age doing the same thing and you're going to make a lot of good friends.
What do you think the advantages from your perspective of like traveling in general are? Like what things have you learned or what things have changed for you in terms of perspectives, would you say?
I mean, I'm definitely more open-minded. I don't take things for granted. Like I'll come home after a long trip and I'll have running water and a bed and a roof and I'll be very grateful for that because a lot of people don't have that, and a lot of places where I've been, I don't have that. So I definitely don't take these things for granted. Whereas if you don't experience these parts of the world, you kind of don't even realize. Like you can just go into your kitchen, you got a fridge that keeps all your food fresh for days, where others don't have that. So little things like that.
Yeah.
And obviously the financial side of it and being able to make a little bit of an income from it, that's good. Keeps me going. I would say those three things are the ones that come to mind.
Mm-hmm. Have you experienced any culture shocks, would you say? Because a lot of the countries that you visited, I'm assuming that the culture is completely different to like British culture. Have there been any shocks so far?
Definitely at the start, like when I first started traveling and going to places outside of Europe, like in Africa and Asia,
Yeah.
like everything is a culture shock. The food, the smells, the sights, because everything's different.
Yeah.
But now, even if I go somewhere that I haven't been before, like I kind of know what to expect.
Yeah.
So I don't think now I'll get culture shocked as, yeah, I can't, like, apart from like my first time in Africa, my first time in Asia, I don't really think I've gotten culture shock. But yeah, no, it definitely happens to everyone, especially at the start.
What would you say is like the most interesting culture that you've witnessed so far to the places that you have traveled?
Most interesting culture. Okay, this one I have to think about. Cultures are different. Like I just like cultures in general. I travel for the people, so I like meeting them. I like seeing where they stay. I like seeing what they eat. I like seeing how they get around. Just yeah, all cultures. I'm very into like small ethnic groups and like tribes in Africa. Like I've spent a lot of time with many of them, and yeah, just seeing the way they live, the way they hunt, the food they eat. That's all very fascinating to me. Just because you're so far from home and everything is so different. It's like the opposite side of the spectrum.
I completely understand. So like when you go to places, do you try to like do what they do, if that makes sense? Like really try and assimilate into the culture, or do you take a step back and just watch?
Oh no, definitely. So for me, travel is completely different to a holiday. When I travel, I like to like live like the locals do. So I will try and live with them. So there's apps where you can stay with people. I would eat the food they eat from the markets. I will travel with them. I'll get the local buses. So I definitely try and be a local when I'm traveling.
Yeah.
Because you're never going to get that experience when you leave the country. So it's definitely once in a lifetime.
You're right. Do you notice that when you do that, like when you actually try to live as the locals, do you think that the locals are a lot more accepting or inviting, would you say, than when you're just like standing back and watching from a distance?
Oh, for sure. I reckon, yeah, because everyone's proud of their culture. So when they see someone there living in the community and eating their food and on the same bus as them, they have respect for you. Where you're not just the tourist that comes by on a private bus and takes pictures of them and leaves. If you're there in the actual community, they definitely have more respect for you.
So I know that you speak, well, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you speak two languages, English and Portuguese, right?
Yeah.
As someone who speaks another language, has that helped you at all so far with any of your travels, or not really?
Yeah, for sure. Because obviously speaking English, English is like the global language. So there's always someone around who speaks it.
Yeah.
Portuguese is also one of the top 10 most spoken languages. So that helps. There's a few countries in Africa that speak it. There's a few countries all over the world that speak it, like Brazil and Timor in Asia. And then, yeah, speaking Portuguese allows me to kind of understand and speak Spanish enough to get by. Because of its Latin roots, I've been trying to learn French, and that's made it quite easy because a lot of the words are quite similar. So, no, for sure, it definitely helps.
You see it as like a necessity? Like, do you think that you have to kind of know another language in order to travel to a range of these different countries that you visited, or not really?
I don't think you need to, but it definitely makes it easier, especially like in Africa, for example. It definitely makes it easier, otherwise you're going to struggle. In places like Asia, where it's very touristic, I think you're fine with English. But in places like Africa, for example, it definitely helps to understand them. So French is very handy, for example.
Yeah. And from some of the countries that you visited, had you picked up any sort of words or phrases that you kind of use?
I always try and learn a few words. Please don't ask me to say anything
no worries.
off the top of my head. But yeah, I always try and learn like the basics in like local languages, like hello or how are you. Puts everyone at ease straight away. They see that you're friendly and wanting to learn.
Yeah, and it shows that you're making an effort to kind of learn more about that.
Yeah, of course.
Someone who is trying to travel to a load of places, would you advise for them to save up a lot of money before going on travels, or alternatively, would you advise for them to try and find work through like a travel scheme, so maybe like teaching in another country or something like that? What do you think's better?
I think they both work. But they both have they both have their positives and negatives. I feel like if you want to travel, but you got the mindset of, I just save first. You could get stuck in the cycle where you're just working. I'll do it next year. I'll do it next year. And you never end up traveling. I'm a big believer in like budget traveling and just going out there. Yeah. I'm young, I'm broke, about making it work. And you can do. Traveling doesn't need to be expensive. And that's what I'm always trying to tell my friends and other people. And the whole volunteering and working abroad, that gets you out there and you don't spend much, but then you're stuck in one place.
Yeah.
Whereas, because I'm trying to visit every country, I don't want to spend 2 months in a village helping. I'd rather spend those 2 months in 10 villages.
Yeah.
So that doesn't work for me. So I'm a little bit in between. I travel cheap. I do get involved in the local communities and stuff, which allows me to travel longer.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like somewhere in the middle is a good balance to travel.
So you mentioned budgeting when you travel. Like, how could people do that? What tips would you say they could use, or any apps or anything that you use that you find that helps?
I mean, going to cheap countries, that's definitely a good base. I know flights can be expensive. So I pick my destinations based on cheap flights. So if I see a cheap flight going to, I don't know, India, I'll go there and stay in that region.
Yeah.
And then I won't fly when I'm in the country, so I'll take local buses because they're much cheaper, local trains, local buses.
Yeah.
I'll eat on the streets, like street food, which is often the most delicious food. An app that I use for accommodation is called Couchsurfing, and it's amazing. I'll describe it. It's like Airbnb, but it's free. So you stay at people's houses and you don't pay. Awesome. And yeah, it's amazing because you get free accommodation and you just get to meet people when you're staying with them, and they often cook for you and they want to show you around. If you put those three together, if you're cutting your accommodation costs, cutting your food costs, cutting your travel costs, what else are you going to spend money on?
No, it's true. You've completely whittled it down. That's really good. When you go to these different countries, even though you're going to visit and learn about the cultures and stuff like that, you're obviously going to be visiting certain like tourist attractions if you have time when you go there. What's a really interesting tourist attraction that you've been to on one of your travels?
It's a really obvious one. Like, I really like the Colosseum in Rome.
Okay.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's very, it's what you expect it to be. So that's one that everyone sees in their lifetime. I've been to a lot of like fantastic places that no one's ever heard of.
Yeah. Like what?
Let me have a look. So the Grand Mosque of Djenné, which is in Mali in West Africa.
Yeah.
It's in the center of the country and it's quite dangerous. So that whole part of the country is controlled by militias and terror groups and stuff. So it's very hard to go to. And it's this whole village made out of sand with this huge mosque. It's the largest mud brick building in the world.
Wow.
And it's just amazing. It's hard to describe. I'll send you a picture after this. But yeah, first time I saw it, I was in awe. And every year they have to basically redo the outside because of the rainy season. So the whole village comes together and fixes it. It's amazing.
Wow.
So that's a world wonder that I wish was a world wonder.
No, again, to visit it, or would you try and go somewhere new that you haven't been to in terms of attractions?
No, I'm all for seeing as much as I can in my life, but I definitely want to go back. There's a lot more in the country that I want to see. So when I do go back, I'll definitely want to visit it, especially if I'm with friends that haven't been. I enjoy going to places where I've been with friends and seeing it through their eyes. Yeah, I think that's very special. So yeah, no, definitely I'll go back.
Have you bought back anything from your travels in terms of souvenirs? So not your standard like magnet or anything like that. Have you bought anything interesting or like memorable back, would you say?
So yes, I used to collect magnets. I used to collect magnets and shot glasses, but I completely ran out of space in my fridge. I really love like tribal art. So I've got a lot of masks and like stuff made from bone and shields, and I've got some really cool pieces, like tribal jewelry, like from all over the world, like tribes all over the world.
Yeah.
So I do have some cool pieces, and yeah, one day I want to put them up in my house and display them.
Do you think, in terms of like experience or memory, what's been your best travel experience or memory so far?
That's a hard one to answer. I've had many that come to mind.
Yeah.
So in Mauritania, in West Africa, I've actually been 4 times, and I lead tours there. I don't know if you saw that on my social media, but I take tourists there now. But we take so there's a train that goes from deep in the desert all the way to the coast. And it's an iron ore train. So basically it looks like coal, and they're all open wagons. And we basically take the train like overnight through the desert. And you basically stay on top, and it's amazing. So all the locals take it because it's a free way of getting across the country. And you basically sleep under the stars, and it's really tough though, because you've got the coal going everywhere, and it's cold at night, but it's like a once in a lifetime experience for sure.
That sounds amazing. I probably would be in awe just seeing the stars. We don't really see stars out here in London, do we? When it's
there's too much light pollution here.
Fantastic. On the other end of the spectrum, is there a country that you've been to that you probably wouldn't visit again, that you haven't really enjoyed? And that could be for the food or your experiences or anything like that.
You know what? I don't think so. There's some countries that I found a little bit boring, but then that was just because of my visit. There were short visits. One that come to mind was Sweden. I went to Marcus many years ago. But then we were just 2 days in the capital, and there wasn't much to see there. So I wouldn't say I'm not going to go back, because I know Sweden's a very big country. There's a lot to see there. Yeah. But my 2 days in the capital were a little bit disappointing. But then again, I'm not judging the country. Yeah. So no, I don't think there is any countries I wouldn't go back to, unless maybe the small micronations in Europe, because they're very small, and I feel like I've seen them. So places like Vatican City, Monaco, Liechtenstein. Yeah. There's no reason to go back.
I understand. Because you've done it once. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, not because anything negative, just because I feel like some places you can say you've been there, done that.
Yeah, no, I get you.
Yeah.
I know that you're trying to go everywhere in the world, but is there somewhere that you're like really burning to go to? Like if you could go tomorrow, where would you go?
Like in general, somewhere I've been before, or just somewhere I haven't been?
Somewhere new that you haven't been to that you would love to go to.
I've got a big map on my wall. I'm actually looking at it now. So a new place. I really want to go to Nigeria.
Okay.
And I'm planning on going there now in October.
Yeah.
And that's a place that I've wanted to go to for a long time, because there's a lot to see, a lot to do, a lot of foods I want to try. So I would say Nigeria. Yeah. Not your usual place when you are someone that.
I'm surprised. That's really cool. I've seen some of your videos where you've tried different types of street food. What's one of the street foods that you've tried that you've really enjoyed so far?
India has amazing street food. Just like anything really that you eat there is going to be good. Afghanistan has some really good street food. They got this thing called bulani, which is like an Afghani samosa. Okay. Just street food in general is always good, to be fair. I can't think of a bad dish I've had on the streets, to be fair. Okay. Like I've had bad food, but like I've gone out my way to try it. Like not bad, but like strange. I don't know if you've seen some of those, but I've had a lot of strange stuff. But that's because I want to. But no, I think street food in general is really good. But yeah, to go with India. India and Pakistan have amazing food, like amazing curries, amazing like grilled chicken, and it's just really unique stuff that tastes good.
Oh, I saw one the other day. I don't really know what it was. It looked like a drink, and you said it tasted like curry or something like that. What exactly was that food or drink that you tried?
I posted that recently. Yeah, I don't know what it was. I was reading the comments, and I think it was it's like sugarcane juice with lime, but they put masala, so like curry powder in it. Okay. And it's weird. You know what? That's one thing I don't like in street food is when I go to get a drink, and they like in India, it's very common to put masala in everything. Okay. But often I want like a cold like lemon juice, and it tastes like masala, so that's not ideal. And that's what that video was.
Okay, I can imagine. You were surprised. Yeah.
Like I like both things, just not together.
No, I get you.
Yeah.
So like, what is the strangest food that you've tried on your travels? So it doesn't have to be bad. You might have enjoyed it. What's the strangest food that you've tried, would you say?
No, I've tried everything, and I feel like I can even offend some people with some of the foods I've had. Like I've had dog meat. I've had like all the Yeah, I've had dog. I had all the insects you can think of. I've had live worms. I've had raw meat. I've had like everything. I quite enjoy that. I quite enjoy trying like unique local dishes that you can only get in those places.
Mm-hmm. Do you have to kind of like psych yourself up to try these things, or are you just quite confident and open to trying it, if that makes any sense?
No, I'm usually quite confident to trying it. There's been one or two that I was a little bit nervous as they were preparing it.
Yeah.
Like in Borneo in Asia, it's like they're called sago worms. So they're these like fat yellow worms, and you eat them live. So that was a bit nervous when they brought it to the table and it was moving.
Yeah.
Another one was in Indonesia. I was eating snake.
Wow.
But you kind of you eat the whole snake, and including the blood. So they put some blood into a cup with like their local alcohol, and when she was pouring the blood into a cup, and I knew I was going to drink it, that made me a little bit nervous.
What did it taste like, if you don't mind me asking? I can't even fathom. What?
You didn't actually taste the blood. It tasted like the rice wine they had in there because they mix it, so you don't actually taste the blood.
Yeah.
But the idea of blood definitely got me a little bit nervous.
Yeah. I saw a video on TikTok the other day about, I think they're called dancing prawns or dancing shrimp or something like that. It was in an Asian country.
Well, I've actually not tried that.
Would you try it?
Also, I'd give it a try. I've also seen that all over. It's like a big trend now, but no, I didn't even know that was a thing. I'll definitely try it next time when I'm there.
You're very brave to try these things. I think it's quite cool, actually, that you're, as you said, trying to eat what the locals eat and trying new things. It's very good.
Yeah, I think curiosity is a beautiful thing.
Well, it is, yeah. So someone who is trying to get into what you do, how can they do it? Is it just a matter of like just mindset to say it? Yeah, I was going to say, or do you plan to do these things, or like how do you get?
No, just do it. Just start traveling. I've got a lot of friends that say they want to travel and they never really do. They like, oh yeah, I'm going to go soon, or I need to finish work, or I need to save up. Like, I think with that attitude, you're never going to end up doing it. I think you just kind of have to just go, just book something and just go. Because it is scary. There's a lot that goes into it. You're worried about money. You're worried about safety. You're worried about health. There's a lot that holds you back, but you kind of just have to take the jump and just do it.
I completely understand. And then, like, if someone's trying to do the whole vlogging and recording thing that you kind of do as well, are there any sort of equipment that you'd recommend that they get before they go on to do their travels?
Oh, I'm the worst vlogger. I put like no effort into anything. I literally just go with my phone.
Okay.
But then I don't think you need much. I mean, I've got a camera for like photos, but I don't use it very often. But in general, for like videos and stuff, it's just an iPhone. I think an iPhone's good enough in terms of quality for. Like, it matches some of the expensive cameras nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you really need more than that.
So you don't need any microphones or anything like that? Literally just the camera, you would say? I mean, your iPhone.
I mean, for voiceovers and stuff, if you want to do voiceovers, it's always good to have a microphone for the quality, but I don't think you need one.
That's so cool.
Like, I know a lot of people use the old, the old headphones, the wired ones for the iPhone. They use that as a microphone, because that's pretty good. But yeah, you don't need much. Like, people are often like, they're worried about starting because you need to put all this money into it. And like, you don't. Just put the money into traveling and then just film with what you've got.
Yeah.
Like, traveling is more important than the equipment.
Like, when you record with, when you record your tasting of like street food and stuff like that, and the other clips that you do you ask for permission beforehand to film them? Or if someone wanted to record with someone, how did they go about that in terms of
I'm not in public, so I don't really need permission, but obviously if they don't like it, I'll turn the camera off. But I've never had a situation where they say no, especially when it comes to food, because I'm being polite. I'm giving them business, so there's never been a situation where they've said no, turn your camera off. And plus, I don't have the camera in their face. It might look like it, but I kind of just hold it in my hand. And because the new iPhone has the 0.5 lens, it captures everything. But my camera is never actually in their face. It's just like in my hand. Yeah. So I'm not being intrusive or anything.
Yeah.
And then then if they call, then I'll set my camera up somewhere and carry on filming.
And go from there. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, people are friendly. Like 99% of the people in the world are friendly.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't be worried.
No, that's good to hear, especially for people that are starting out and want to do that. What's next on your list? Where are you planning to go to next?
I'm spending the summer in Europe. Although I've been to all the countries in Europe, so it's just for fun now. Just have a fun summer.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm leading a Mauritania tour in end of October. So I'm probably going to try and get my last 3 West African countries before that, which is Nigeria, Niger, and Burkina Faso.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know. I try not to plan too far ahead.
Yeah.
So that's October going into November. That will get me up to around 125 countries. And then I don't know. I'll see. I'm looking at doing Southern Africa in February. I'll probably do something in December.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of just decide based on cheap flights. So whenever an opportunity comes up, I will go for it.
Awesome. So someone who would want to go on the Mauritania excursion, how would they go about signing up on your tour?
It's through a Portuguese company called DnzhTravels.
Mm-hmm.
If you go on my page, my link in bio, click on that, and then it'll have a link to the actual site where you can make the reservation. Mm-hmm. It's pretty easy.
Right. Well, tell us a little bit about your what's the name of your channel for those that haven't visited yet, so they can go and see some of your content.
So the name is the same everywhere on TikTok and Instagram. It's DnzhTravels. Nice and simple.
Yeah. I'll make sure to put it in the description box below. So anyone who wants to go and maybe if Daniel's open to you asking questions about his travels or even just following the page, then please do.
I'm very friendly. Anyone can message me. I get so many questions all the time. I respond to everyone.
There you go. You've heard it here. You can message and you can ask some questions. I want to thank you for coming on and answering my questions.
No worries. Happy to be here.
Some more information about your channel. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Like when I messaged you, I really like what you're doing, and I've listened to all of your podcasts. They're very entertaining, and yeah, seem to keep up.
Thank you.
Because this can, you're talking about not knowing what you want for your future earlier on. Yeah. This could be a good start to something.
It's true. Crossing the fingers.
If it's something that you like, because you mentioned journalism.
Yeah.
Podcasts can go hand in hand with that as well.
It's true. Can build up my portfolio with this.
Yeah.
So we keep going.
Get some interesting guests on here.
Oh yeah, that's the hope. I want to keep reaching out to people and see what I can get. I think I've had some cool guests so far. To be honest, a lot of people and their businesses, I wouldn't necessarily would have known about them before unless I reached out to them on Instagram or seen them.
I was going to ask, do you know everyone apart from school friends? Do you know everyone, or have you been reaching out to people?
I've been reaching out to people via Instagram, TikTok, stuff like that. So a lot of them know I don't know them, but they were kind enough to come on.
So, yeah. No, good on them, and good on you. It's good exposure for both. Mm-hmm. It gives you content. It gives them exposure. It's a win-win.
Yeah, it's a win-win. As I said, I was surprised the other day. I was looking at my viewership, and there were some countries there. I was like, really? That's cool. So it's not just England, which is good. There's a lot of different countries on there, like Bhutan in Korea. I was
going to say, I like countries. I was going to ask you, what are some of the countries that you have viewers in?
I'll get it up now. Let me have a look. But I was quite surprised.
Bhutan's a strange one. I was just there.
Yeah, exactly. So right now, UK, Bhutan, Portugal, Spain, United States, and India.
Bhutan's a weird one.
I know, right?
That's impressive, though. Well done.
Thank you. And I was even surprised as well. I didn't really know much about my viewership, so that's why I decided to look at it. It was quite balanced between email as well, and the age groups, again, quite balanced. So it's good to see that a range of different people are tuning in.
No, of course.
That's cool.
No, and it'll keep getting better, keep growing, and yeah, it's only up from here.
Yes. But thank you again, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.
Thank you. Bye.